or if you came in at a later point, you've been here anyways for at least a year now. But it's time to begin thinking again about the magnet school application process. And we want to help you do that because there's a lot of really wonderful options that you have. We have students at Washington each year, 5th graders, attend over 20 middle schools in Wake County. So our students come from a wide quadrant of Wake County, extending all the way up to Morrisville and the airport and coming back around through Cary, Morrisville, Apex, Holly Springs, into the edge of Garner, and then coming back into downtown Raleigh. So families have all of those options for their base school that they can attend. But you also have magnet school options. And tonight we're going to tell you a bit about what those magnet school options are. We're going to talk about the timeline that we have for applying for magnet schools, and then talk a little bit about some things that you want to be aware of. Because as a parent, if you're watching now online or you're here because you're engaged and you're information seeking and you want to have the best set of data or information possible to make an important decision for your child for middle school. We are fortunate in Wake County that we have a tremendous number of strong schools. That could be your base school, that could also be a magnet school. What I encourage you to do is narrow down the schools that you're interested in and then begin visiting them and visit them with your child. Now, if there's a high number of schools that you just kind of want to get a sense of as a parent, you might want to do some of those visits on your own, but when you have narrowed down to several schools that you're really interested in, walk through those hallways, take the tour, and bring your child with you. Because you and your child are both going to have a sense of, is this the right place for me? Maybe for different reasons. But your child's interest in a connection to a school is important, and you want to talk that through with them as well, because their draw to that school is just as important as what offerings those schools have. In a minute, I'm going to turn over the mic and the program briefly to Amy Wilkinson. Amy is our magnet coordinator here at Washington. She helps with all of our events, magnet programming. She's organizing our participation in the Southeast Raleigh Magnet Fair, which I hope you can attend. It's a great way to get information. And she's here to help you also with our existing magnet program. So you're still Washington parents. If you ever have questions about electives, we have, she's got mini sessions that she holds with families who want some help with that elective process. So just to answer questions about what are some good choices for electives for my own child. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Wilkinson. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
All right, thanks so much for coming. I know I have a very different role with some of you, as I had your children in my classroom as either kindergartners or first graders. And so now I'm in this position as the magnet coordinator and really enjoying my time and showing other parents how awesome our school is. So tonight we have Tamani Anderson-Powell from the magnet office, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about your options. And as Mr. Grant said, I'm happy to help facilitate any questions that you have during this process. And then our counselor, Miss Mary McDonough, who's also here tonight, also helps facilitate that middle school registration once that happens. So when that process, you'll either be talking with Miss McDonough or myself to help you down the road after the application process for middle school and that registration process. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Peck.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I love coming out to Washington. My name is Tamani. I work in the Office of Magnet Programs. And as a good teacher, I want to make sure that you have all of your items. So there were 2 items for you to pick up. And Ms. Wilkinson, if you'll remind me, I will email them to you so that you can share them with parents. So you should have a packet that looks like this with the Magnet Fair flyer on the front and some pages stapled. And then you should have a page that looks like this with some colors on it. So I'll send these to you so that our viewing audience can also get them if they need them. So I want to be sure to mention to you, the Magnet Fair is coming up Saturday, November 5th. That's our huge Magnet Fair where all of our magnet schools, K through 12, will be there. I know you're looking at middle school, but middle school is only 3 years long. So while you're looking, you might also look at some high schools, especially if you kind of know what your end game is, meaning you have an idea of the high school you want, then you might look at the middle school that feeds to that high school. So I hope you'll come out to the Magnet Fair. But in case you can't come on the 5th, the second page in the packet shows you other events. So you'll notice that about halfway down the page, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 7th row, I think, says the Magnet Middle School Evening Info Session. So that's going to look a little bit like a Magnet Fair again. All of the middle schools will be in one place. So that would be another opportunity for you to see all of the Magnet middle schools in one place. So if you can't come on Saturday, you know another time when you can come. If I were you, I would come to the one that's at Davis Drive Elementary on December 6th. I suspect most of you live in the southern part of the county, which is why you're at Washington. And so the program at Davis Drive will also have the middle schools that serve the southern part of the county. You are welcome to come to the one at Carroll, but you might not see the schools that actually serve your address. So I want you to be sure to see the schools that serve your address. If I'm wrong and you live in the northern part of the county, feel free to come to the one at Carroll. But I suspect most of you live in the southern part, Holly Springs, Apex, Cary, Garner, around that way, Morrisville. So I would suggest you come to Davis Drive. So that's that. You'll also notice on here that there's a Magnet Middle School's theme showcase. That must be the 9th row. So that's a day when you can visit a Magnet Middle School and you don't have to sign up for a tour, you can just show up. Most schools that tour will ask you to schedule. They typically tour once a week, but they'll ask you to schedule because they only want to tour, you know, a smaller number of people at one time. But on that particular day, you can just show up and they're ready to tour people all day. So you've got lots of opportunities to learn and to visit before you have to make any decisions. You'll see on the bottom row, the Magnet application period, which is January 12th through the 31st. Right down here, January 12th through the 31st. So the Magnet application, Magnet application period, January 12th, that's fine, through the 31st. It is not first come, first serve. Everybody with me? It is not first come, first serve. You may apply anytime, the 12th through the 31st. You can apply on the 12th, change your mind on the 14th, change your mind again on the 30th. Whatever's in there on the 31st is what they're going to process. You do not have to be first. Take your time, learn, be sure, and then apply. Okay? So we'll talk about that information in a little bit. I want you to take note of this sheet. Looks like this when you get it. So here's where I get most of the questions from Magnet families at Washington or Magnet families at any school. What's my priority? So you will see here your school listed here in the hot pink. Or you should, yeah, Washington. And if you read across, you'll see you have priority to the GT middle school that serves your address. You will only see on your application the GT middle school that serves your address. In actuality, if your child is AIG identified, you will see 3 options. If your child is not AIG, you will see 2 options. I'm going to take a minute and show you how to find that so you'll know where to go. Okay? From the Wake County Schools homepage, if you go to Programs and Magnet Schools, on the left is a link called Application Process. Hold on. So you look for the link that says Base School Located. This is the same way you would find the base school for your address. So you put in your street name, and your house number. And you know, this is where you would find your base schools, but if you click over here on the right, and then click here on the magnet options. Oh, what did I do? Did I close it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably not.
Okay, so you are going to use that to look up your magnet options, because what you want to be sure is that you know the schools that are available to you based on your address. You want to know that school because that's the school you want to visit. That's the only school that is going to show up on your list when you do your application. So you want to be sure you know the schools that are available for you.
I have a question on that.
Sure.
If you were not, and I'm sure that's not going to apply to anyone, but let's say we just don't even fill out the application process. We're here, we just move it right along. So whatever that base school is, that's automatically where we'll be assigned if we do nothing.
That's correct. That's a great, not a question, but a great statement. If you do nothing, or if you don't want to do anything, if you want to go to your base, do nothing, or if you do nothing, you are assigned to your base school. You can put in your address, not your company. Rainy Lake is what I put in. Rainy, R-A-I-N-Y. 2149. Application schools, magnet options. And if you'll scroll down to middle schools. So you'll see there are a ton of options. Elementaries come first, and then here come the middle schools. So you'll notice that for my address, I have Ligon, which is my AIG Basics option. That means if my child is AIG, this option will show up on my list. If my child is not AIG, I will not see that option. Now, Ligon also happens to be my gifted and talented option. You will have a gifted and talented option. It could be Martin, it could be Ligon, it could be Carnage. I doubt if it's Zebulon, but it could be Zebulon. I just don't think any of you live in Zebulon. You will also see here Moore Square, which is another GT AIG option for families. This will show up on your application regardless. So you'll have at least one GT option and Moore Square. And then if your child is AIG, you'll have a third. Okay? So thank you for that. You will see you also have other options. So because you're at Washington, remember, your highest priority is to your GT option school. As if you are here as a magnet family, That means you applied to be at Washington and were selected through the magnet process. You also have a high priority to any other magnet middle school. So your highest is to your GT option, but you also have high priority to any other magnet school. If you are here because Washington is your base school, you have priority to the GT middle school for your address, but that's your only priority. Okay, so if you're magnet, you have magnet, and you have GT and you have anything else. If you're base, your only priority is GT. You can still apply for whatever you want, but your priority is GT. On your, let's flip to the back page of this document. And this is my kind of cheat sheet for magnet. So skip the top part for just a second and go to the part that says magnet application and selection. So you'll see again the dates. The link will be on the Wake County Schools homepage beginning on January 12th. As in, it's not there now. Don't look for it now. You can't go see what it's going to look like ahead of time. It will go live January 12th. And can I tell you something else? Don't jump up early and look for it. When you get up, take your time. Have some coffee, visit with some friends. About 11 o'clock, you can look for it. Sometimes it doesn't go live until the afternoon. If it's not live by the 13th, call me. But we rely on a programmer to do some things before we upload it. And it's a computer. So don't rush. Take your time. All right, you see you can apply anytime during the application process. So just a little bit of information on how it works. Every applicant is assigned a number randomly, 1 to 100. How many people are in this room? Everybody gets, that's the lottery piece. Everybody, you just get a number. And then we assign priority points. So siblings get the most because we want siblings to be sure to get in, okay? And then magnet students who are following their program. And then magnet students who are not following their program. That means they're applying for something not in this color scheme. And then it kind of keeps ticking down. Base students following their program. So your highest priority is to a GT school, but you can put anything you want as first, second, or third, or fourth, or fifth.
How many slots are there?
5. Now, you don't necessarily have to put 5 because you will see that one of my notes, where is it? Oh my gosh, did I put that on here? So, yes, I did. The very last sentence, once selected for an early college or a magnet school, that becomes your assigned school. So don't put 5 just because there are 5 slots. Just put what you want. Because if you're selected for it, it's yours. And you want to be sure that you only apply to something that you really, really, really want. Don't put that school that you're like, oh, don't put that one. Because you'll get it and you won't be happy. And then you'll be calling me. Only put a school that you really, really want. But you can put up to 5 schools. And list them in the order that you really want to put them, okay? I have said that GT is your highest priority, but the programmer swears to me, put them in the order that you really want them. If you really want Reedy Creek as your first choice, put it as your first choice. You're still going to earn your highest priority points for your GT option wherever you put it. But if you really think you want Reedy Creek, put Reedy Creek first. Put Centennial second. Put them like you really want them. Order them like you really want them. Okay? If you really want AIG, Put that first. If you really want AIG basics, put that first. And then put your GT second if you want to. Order them the way you really, really want them, okay? Trust me. Trust the program. Trust the program. Okay. So I do want to share with you about early colleges very quickly. For rising sixth graders, there is a Young Men's Leadership Academy, which is an all-boys school, grades 6 through 12. And there is a Young Women's Leadership Academy, which is an all-girls school, grades 6 through 12. That application is taking place right now. And they are a 6-12 school. Did I already say that? That's a 6-12. So once they get in there, they stay till 12th grade. In 9th grade, the schools begin to participate with St. Augustine's University as an early college. So 9th and 10th grade, they're still on their single gender campus. Still, oh, did I mention they wear uniforms? Yes. All the parents are like, yes. All the kids are like, in grades 6 through 10, they wear uniforms. In grade 11, the men's and the women come together to create just the Waitlist Leadership Academy. They are housed at St. Augustine's University. They don't wear uniforms anymore. And they begin to take classes, college classes, for transferable credit. So that's college transferable credit for free. That's right, you heard me, best price in town, college credit for free. That is transferable to a UNC system school. I mentioned those two because they begin in grade 6. We also have 4 others. If you look on the back of this sheet, there are 4 others that begin in 9th grade. You'll see over here, right here in the yellow. There are 4 others that begin in 9th grade, but young men's and young women's begin in 6th. So I just mentioned that to you because that might be of interest to you. I went to a single gender college. It was a wonderful, amazing, good for me. It was really good for me. And so you have to know your child, but I mention that because that may be of interest. You might want to stop by and see them at the Magnet Fair on November 5th. They will be there. And just talk to them about their program.
You said they were applying now, so they have a different application.
They do. They have a different application process. They have to get recommendations. There's an essay. We review their grades, their report card grades, their end of grade test scores, because those students are preparing to take college courses. So their application process is different. Thank you for reminding me about that. I think that's most of my prepared stuff because I want to have time for you guys to ask questions. And I'm going to watch for my time. But I wanted to be sure that I answered your questions that you have. So what questions do you have? Yes, ma'am.
Can you just clarify, so my son is AIG identified or both.
Okay.
Are you saying that, so we have, when I look, we have Ligon, Moore Square, and Carnage as our options?
Correct.
Are you saying that, I mean, is he given priority going into an AIG basis or GT magnet, or is it just the GT magnet that would be like his first priority?
So I'm going to repeat your question for you guys. The question is, do you have the same priority going into an AIG basics magnet program as you do going into a GT program? So you don't have the same priority, but because you have magnet status, you have a really high priority. And I would encourage you, if you want AIG, list it first. And try to, I hate to say try to get the seat. I mean, it's all done by a computer. Your highest priority is to GT, but the way they do the selection, each of your choices might have a different, we call it an applied random number. So remember, everybody got a random number, and then you got points If you were magnet following your program, magnet not following your program, base. So those numbers change depending on what school you list. So when you list your GT option, regardless of where you list it, you get, I'm making this up, 8 million points. Whether you put it as your first choice, your second choice, your third choice, your GT option will give you 8 million points. Your AIG option might give you 6 million points. But the programmer says list them the way you want, you don't have to put GT first. So put your AIG option first, put your GT option second. You're fortunate that your GT option also has an AIG Basics program there. So either way, you could still access an AIG Basics option, whether you got into Ligon or Carnegie or Moore Square, because Moore Square also offers AIG Basics. So you could list them in any order, but list them in the order of your true preference. Does that help you some? A little bit? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I'm confused about AIG being identified, got that,
Correct?
versus AIG Basics versus GT. Can you?
Oh, yes, I can. I'm so sorry. So at an AIG Basics middle school, well, and Carnegie and Ligon do it a little bit differently. They put all of the students who are identified in language arts in that class. At Ligon, they do it by class. So if you're AIG in language arts, all the AIG kids are going to be in the same class or the same 2 classes. If you're not AIG, you'll be heterogeneously grouped. If you're, but at Carnegie, they put all of their AIG students on one team. So a little bit of difference, but still the idea that you get this self-contained class with other AIG students. The GT part is all of the electives they offer, just like the electives you get here. So that's the GT part. In middle school, at the GT schools, they offer 3 electives every day. So they have an 8-period day. So that's kind of the difference between the two. AIG just speaks to how your core classes are taken. The GT is all the electives.
Okay, so AIG and AIG Basics are the same.
Yeah, if you're AIG identified, then you would be served in an AIG Basics class.
So when you have these 3 options instead of just 2 options, do you say one is your number 1 and one is your number 2?
Yes,
So you're
yes.
still going to do that?
you're still gonna rank them, however you want to rank them.
So if you're identified.
So if you're
Does it give
let me
you
say
a-
this, if you're not identified, you won't see as many options. Right,
So really then we would be putting our name in twice for that same.
that's correct. If Ligon, like mine, if Ligon is both your GT and your AIG, you would be putting your name in twice.
So it gives you a better chance of getting that.
Correct. And regardless of how you get in, if you're AIG, they will serve you an AIG Basics. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you put in your address to find a base school, or by the option,
Correct.
that knows whether your child is allowed to get invited or not.
No, so this address lookup does not know that.
That's not,
But when you enter your information to do the application, it does know that. So this is just an address lookup for anybody.
okay.
But when you do the application, you will put in your child's name, ID number, and it'll go, oh, that's Tamani. It'll pull in my data, and then it will know, oh, Tamani's AIG, show her these options. Or this is Tamani's address, show her these options. It will also, I don't know if any of you have a base school that's also a magnet school.
Yeah,
Okay. If your base is also a magnet, it knows, don't show her that, she's already assigned to that school.
It won't even
Computer will
show
know
it?
that. It won't even show you your base school as a magnet option. Because it already sees, oh, you're already assigned to that school. I don't need to show you that as an option. Right. Yes, ma'am. Wait a minute, did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
So let's say we just choose one as a magnet school that we want to get into, and we don't get into it. Does the child then automatically just go to their base school?
That's correct. So in January, everyone should get an initial notice of assignment. And that says, if you do nothing, here's where your child will go. And so on those transition years, everybody's assigned back to base. So yours will say, your child is assigned to, I don't know, Roseville Middle School. If you do nothing, you're in Roseville Middle. And until you get something else, you're still assigned to Roseville Middle. Now, one thing I didn't cover on here, I think it's the top bullet on this page. It's the little cheat sheet page. So the first bullet says, anytime you're not selected for your first choice, you are assigned to the waitlist, applicant pool, because it's not numbered. You are assigned to the applicant pool for that choice. Let's say you put 2 choices. You are selected for your second choice. You are still in the applicant pool for your first choice school. They process the application twice, or the applicant pool twice. So 2 more times, you could get selected for that school. If at some point you decide you don't want to be in the applicant pool, you can remove yourself from the applicant pool. So you could get your second choice, now that's your assigned school, and be in the applicant pool for your first choice school. You could get pulled during the applicant pool processing. Now that's your assigned school and you're no longer assigned here. So every time you get something, you give up what you have. Is that kind of clear?
So you're saying if you don't get in your first, but you get in your second, but you don't really want the second?
No, if you get your second, you're in your second.
You can't change it.
You can ask later. The early transfer period starts February 22nd. You can ask for your base back. So that's why I'm like, don't put a school you're
You
not,
don't want to go to yet.
right. Because if you get it, that's your assigned
That's your
school.
second.
Yeah. If you ask me for a school by applying and I give you your school you asked me for, then it's yours.
Okay.
Right, okay,
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's say you just choose one,
okay.
right? You just want to do one, you want to try one, and then you don't get in the first round. What is the latest that you would find out that maybe you did or didn't get in?
The end of April, I think, is when they're gonna process the wait list for the applicant pool. That's new for me. Applicant pool for the second time. So they'll process the applicant pool early March and then again late April. So if you haven't gotten in by final transfer period, you're probably not gonna get in from the wait list, from the applicant pool. It's not numbered, and that's why now we don't say a wait list, because it's not numbered, it's an applicant pool. So end of April, you should know. And then if you really want the school and you think you have a good reason why, you can do the final transfer that allows you to write your reasons why you want that school. Yes, ma'am.
Make sure I wrote this correctly. So let's say you move to a neighborhood and let's say Lincoln is your base school for Minty. And you wanna jump tracks to a different theme. And so wait, Lincoln is your base school.
Lincoln is my base school because I live.
Let's just say, because you live in that neighborhood.
Okay, all right.
But then when you go onto high school, if you wanted to like jump to a different theme,
Right.
have you lost that magnet spot? Like
Yes.
if I wanted to apply it to Broughton,
So
high school.
you could apply, but you don't have any priority.
Okay.
Your only priority, like if your base is Ligon, your only priority is NLA. And a priority is not a guarantee, but a priority helps you, gives you more points. So you could apply to Broughton, but it would be more difficult to get into Broughton because your only priority is to NLA. Excuse me. Your only priority is to NLA. Other questions? So you know how to look up your list of schools. Excuse me. You know times when you can visit the school. I highly encourage you to visit because that's how you know what it feels like. I highly encourage you to take your child. I highly encourage you to stick with GT or AIG Basics because your students are so used to all of the electives. I think they'll be very disappointed if they don't have them. And if you go to any other school, including any other magnet, you won't have the number of electives that your students have become accustomed to. They just don't offer them. So if your child has really enjoyed the ability to take all these different electives, I really encourage you to visit Carnage or Ligon or Moore Square. The Moore Square is on a different calendar. It's on the modified year-round calendar. But it's a much smaller school. There are only 600 students. So I recommend, if that's something that's of interest, that you go see it. But I just know when I talk to GT parents who then go somewhere else, their base school, a different magnet, I think the kids miss that ability to take all of those electives. So I encourage you at least go and visit so that you know what's there, you know what's available, and you're making an informed decision, especially if you decide